Breaking this morning, President Trump expected to issue a pardon today for a member of the Bush administration. Scooter Libby, the former chief of staff to Dick Cheney, was convicted of lying to the FBI and obstruction of justice, that regarding a CIA leak matter back in 2007. Sources telling Fox News the move could come as early as today. More on this coming up inside of America's Newsroom. Watch that story and this one, too. Moments ago, President Trump punching back at the former FBI director, James Comey, calling him a, quote, untruthful slime ball. This after some harsh excerpts from Director Comey's scathing book and interview continue to dribble out this morning. And there's a ton of reaction to all this today. So welcome to Friday. Everybody exhale. I'm Bill Hemmer, live inside of America's News.
Take a deep breath. Good morning, Bill. I'm Sandra Smith. The bombshells out of James Comey's book just 2 days ahead of his first major interview since leaving his post. The news coming as we await a federal hearing on the search warrants that led to the FBI raiding the home, office, and hotel of Trump's personal attorney. Kevin Corke live from the North Lawn this morning with all of this. Kevin, what's the White House angle or spin, if you will, on the latest Comey book excerpts?
Well, listen, Sandra, what they're basically saying is he's not under oath. He's out there trying to sell a book. So take what he's written with a grain of salt. Now, that said, the president, to be fair, has been decidedly less measured in his critique of the excerpts that we have seen thus far from the book. Let me take you to his favorite platform, Twitter. And buckle up, folks. Here we go. The president of the United States says this: James Comey is a proven leaker and liar. Virtually everyone in Washington thought he should be fired for the terrible job he did until he was, in fact, fired. He leaked classified information for which he should be prosecuted. He lied to Congress under oath. He is a weak and untruthful slimeball who was, as time has proven, a terrible director of the FBI. His handling of the crooked Hillary Clinton case and the events surrounding it will go down as one of the worst botched jobs of history. It was my great honor to fire James Comey. Wow. The book is A Higher Loyalty: Truth, Lies, and Leadership. In it, he says this about the President of the United States: he's untethered to the truth. He has never recoiled from causing another person pain. He's unethical. He adds these quotes: what's happening now is not normal. It's not fake news. It's not okay. He adds this: the actions of one person can destroy what it took hundreds of people years to build. Now, Comey's view, his backers contend, are the words of a man who's a patriot and a lifelong public servant. But some White House officials are, shall we say, questioning his recollection.
I spend more time in the Oval Office in a given day than this man got to spend with the president over the course of his very brief tenure before he was fired. He's taking 1 or 2 or 3 meetings with the president and retroactively putting his own spin on them to sell books. It seems to me like he sounds like a disgruntled ex-employee.
To say the least, this is a story that will not go away anytime soon. By the way, we have a briefing later today, Sandra, and I suspect the White House press secretary will hear lots of questions about what the president had to say.
Fair to expect that. Kevin, a federal district court hearing today related to the search warrant executed on materials belonging to the president's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Any White House reaction yet?
Well, none yet, but to be clear, the president's attorneys are watching this very carefully, as are civil libertarians, because if you think about what this could possibly mean, what has happened, they argue, in the Southern District of New York, Sandra, if it becomes a primer for what other courts across the country do, well, what has long been considered attorney-client privilege could dramatically change, and that could reverberate across the country. Now, we simply don't know if Cohen himself will appear, but given the stakes, it would probably be wiser if he didn't appear this morning. Should that change, of course, we'll let you know. In the meantime, we look forward to the briefing and any details, I promise, to pass them along. Back to you.
Kevin, I'm sure you will. Thank you. Kevin Corke.
A lot to talk about right now. Sandra, Hugo Gurdon, editorial director for the Washington Examiner. How are you doing today? And good morning on this Friday. What do you think the effect is of the interview in the book, Hugo?
Good morning. I don't know that the effect is going to be long-term. I don't think it's going to change people's minds. Bill, when you've got a bestseller coming out and you want to make millions of dollars and sell as many copies as you can, but you don't have any telling new details, and everybody who's seen this book, including the New York Times, which is no friend of Donald Trump's, say there aren't any substantive new details that are going to change things, what you do is you put a lot of color and your own psychodrama in it. And that's what we've got with this book. It's all about Comey's anxieties, his impressions, his concerns, and there's lots of color, but I don't think it's going to change anybody's mind.
A lot of color on this. The RNC is striking back in a way that I think seldom we see, actually. They set up a website. They've got some ads running. Here's one of them that features Democrats on James Comey. Watch just a tip of that.
Democrats have been very critical of James Comey, and many of us did call for his resignation.
Well, I was appalled by what Director Comey did.
Comey acted in an outrageous way.
He made a mistake. Maybe he's not in the right job.
Howard Dean,
so
former
on
Democratic.
it goes from there. And Ronna McDaniel put out this statement, head of the RNC. James Comey's publicity tour, she says, is a self-serving attempt to make money and rehabilitate his own image. Kind of what you just said, Hugo. Comey's a liar and a leaker, and his misconduct led both Republicans and Democrats to call for his firing. If Comey wants the spotlight back on him, we'll make sure the American people understand why he has no one but himself to blame for his complete lack of credibility. So you're saying the lines have been drawn already? No minds change on this.
I don't think the minds will change on this. I thought it was rather extraordinary of the RNC to set up that particular site. It's, I don't think, a particularly good idea. The content is true. Of course, the Democrats really detested what Comey did relating to the Clinton investigation. I think, actually, that what he says about the Clinton investigation and his decision to reveal that he had reopened it is absolutely right. Imagine having already said to Congress and made public the fact that the Clinton investigation of her emails, etc., was closed, and if he had not revealed that he had reopened it and she had been elected, that would have been an immense scandal, that he had concealed the fact that it was reopened. He didn't know what was going to be on Anthony Weiner's computer, so he had to admit that he'd reopened it again. Oh. But I'm not sure that the way that the Republicans are handling this, the RNC is handling this, is really a very good idea.
All right, well, I mean, listen, you've got a president who punches back, and maybe the RNC is taking his cue from him. So we'll see how that goes and plays out. There'll be a lot of focus on the loyalty dinner. Where's the focus on Russian collusion? Was that addressed that we know of in the Stephanopoulos interview or not?
No, I don't think that Comey adds anything to the collusion narrative. It's extraordinary what's been going on just recently. There's lots of activity on the Mueller probe. There's the book coming out. But the collusion narrative has almost entirely disappeared. Now what you're seeing is much more focused on the possibility or the allegation of obstruction of justice by the president. I mean, that's really